And I think for veterans in transition, having that professional conversation that's relatable allows you to then sell your capability.
It gets you in the door where you're being dismissed because you have so many other people in the workforce that have those quantifiables.
Looking at our feedback, everybody who's ever said, like, okay, I'll give you a shot, has come back and said, I'm glad I did that. That was pretty awesome. Like, I learned a ton.
Right? So regardless if you're doing another 2-year degree or 4-year college degree, they all kind of work together.
Walk us through the general understanding and the changes, what the GI Bill was previously that most of us are familiar with, and what it's kind of become in, the last couple of years.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, biggest change is they've developed an entire new section of the GI Bill called licensing and certifications. I know in 2021, 2022, law was updated to allow the GI Bill to pay for prep courses that allow you to then obtain the certification. Huge change systematically across the GI Bill. And the biggest change actually came about 2 months ago. So a full 3 years after the legal change, the website now actually mentions it. So mechanically, it has to be a course by an authorized or approved trainer or school towards an exam that has been vetted by the GI Bill and the VA.
That's kind of it's a pretty big distinction, right? Like, I mean, if you think about it, the cost of the certification is not cheap. So it's great that the VA was willing to pay for that. But oftentimes you're getting all of the necessary pieces in place to actually be able to take the test is also can be expensive, right? There's different books you can do, different courses you can do. And the fact that the VA has kind of come out and said, hey, we recognize that there's a big cost component to this too. We'll pay for the training that leads to one of our approved certifications. That's pretty huge, right? So, when you think about it, Justin, this one's kind of for you. Like, you work directly with customers on an almost daily basis, and you lead a team of client advisors that do the same. When you think about the GI Bill and the conversations you have with the customers, that the veterans, the active duty members that can use it, what are the biggest challenges that they're facing right now?
So the biggest challenge is right now, there's a mindset that it's only for college, because for so long the military, that's what the GI Bill was saying, like, hey, it's only for college. So shifting the minds of the people that we're talking to and saying, hey, listen, no, it's not just for college. It's for your benefit in assisting your transition. You can use this in a number of different ways to help set yourself up for success for life after the military. And then the other piece of it is, that people are like, well, I want to save it for my kids, which is admirable and completely understandable, especially with the rising cost of education in the US, to send your kids to college. But having them understand that the earning potential that they have with a certification that will cost them 1 month of the benefits that they will receive from using that 1 month for themselves and then giving the remainder to their kids is going to drastically just overshadow what they would do if they just give the full bulk to their kids. So I guess from our standpoint, that's the biggest thing, is just having people understand what the benefit is and how they can use it.
I think, along that, I think there's another objection we have to get to, which veterans think they're going to walk out of uniform into a 6-figure job because they throw their rank on the table and say, I'm a veteran. And I think the transition reality hits later that's not going to happen, right? I call it the credibility gap. There's a massive credibility gap for vets. We have so much capability. We do more than any other civilian equivalent counterpart. But if you can't walk into an interview and speak the doctrine of industry and speak like a professional, they're not going to understand you. They're not going to hire you. So, I just did a post this morning from Purdue that gives you, 9 bachelor's credits and I think 4 classes or 12 master's credits if you have a PMP certification. So, the fact that I could use a month of my GI Bill to actually counteract 6 months of college, I mean, that's a major time savings and a major impact, as well as the fact that if I got a job, to Justin's point, I could make $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 a year more versus that 1 month, which is a better long-term investment, me getting a stable job or me keeping that 1 month for myself or giving that 1 month to my kids. And the last thing comes to mind is your VA disability. A lot of veterans get VA disabilities. A lot of states have full educational benefits depending on your disability ratings, so for me, it was never even a consideration or an idea that I would have, my disability rating. And now I realize I get full college for my kids in the state of Virginia and other benefits. So now they don't even need the GI. So just, I think we play worst case scenario and just give it to our kids, or like, I got to keep it and never touch it. And then we forget there's so many other benefits that come as being a veteran.
Yeah, it's a natural thing too. I mean, and just this group of 5 people, we all 5 live in 5 completely different states. And, Mike, you just recently moved and, you left the veterans benefits of one state to pick up the veteran benefits of another state. And I think it's important to recognize that as well. Like if you know where you're going to land when your military career is over and understanding those benefits, it's exceptionally, helpful because, you may say, well, I'm going to give my GI Bill to my kids, but then, specifically in your position, Josh, if you knew you were going to land in Virginia and you knew that was the rules in Virginia, then once you've met those things, then you no longer have to give it to the kids. So now, it can be opened up for other things, right? The objections that we hear, but are the veterans themselves navigating any challenges when it comes to using the GI Bill?
Yeah.
And you did pretty emphatic with a yes. So.
Yeah. And I think honestly, like, this is not GI Bill specific. One of the common objections that we get is, well, I don't do well with virtual learning. Like I just want to do it in person, and I understand that thought press, but I think, we need to understand that these people have nothing but opportunity in front of them to say like, hey, I'm going to try this virtual course. Looking at our feedback, everybody who's ever said like, okay, I'll give you a shot has come back and said, I'm glad I did that. That was pretty awesome. Like I learned a ton. So that objection is just their mindset of, I can't learn it if it's not in person. You can have a little bit of faith in yourself and have a little faith in us that we know what we're doing and we've been doing it for a lot of years and we're really stinking good at it. So
yeah, I think COVID made us all better at doing virtual stuff, but it also made a lot of people get kind of exhausted by virtual. So it's kind of it's a weird give and take, right?
Yeah.
When you think about it like that. I want to take a slightly different angle towards the conversation too. And Jamie, I want to kind of throw this one to you. If you're a veteran and you're thinking about using your GI Bill, like what kind of thought process goes into that decision?
There's a lot of folks transitioning that already have their 4-year degree or a trade school, right? Or some sort of certification. So one thing that is generally recognized across all industries are a lot of these types of credentials out there or these certifications that you can go pick up, like Lean Six Sigma, project management, a variety of different project management certifications, et cetera, right? So like you want to go become an HVAC person or a plumber or electrician. Guess what they all revolve around? Things like projects, quality control, right? So regardless if you're doing another 2-year degree or 4-year college degree, they all kind of work together, right? So you need to figure out what gaps you need to fill and determine if the certification is right.
So Mike, I want to kind of come to you now with a very similar question. When you're thinking about using the GI Bill, is that a big motivator or a big part of the thought process that goes into that?
When you're thinking about transition, you really have to look at the whole picture. The thing that you have is leadership from the military. That's what we do really well. We teach leaders. But I cannot Google on Indeed or any other job posting that says leader. There's no job called leader. So it becomes a challenge for people. You look at your civilian counterparts, and oftentimes our civilian counterparts, they have real quantitative numbers. So what certifications really do for you is they're sort of a stopgap. It gets you in the door where you're being dismissed because you have so many other people in the workforce that have those quantifiables. When I got my PMP, I was in transition when I got it. The day that I passed it and I posted it on my LinkedIn, I quite literally got 4 cold calls from recruiters saying, I need somebody on site on Fort Belvoir with the PMP tomorrow, $180,000 a year. Can you do it?
I think this is kind of for everybody, right? Because let's be honest, most veterans, especially career veterans, don't start planning their transition until way too late. How do you decide? Like, what mentality goes into, do I use my GI Bill benefits right away? Do I save them for future educational opportunities?
When you look at the GI Bill, you look at other benefits the VA gives. I had 2 kids in high school when I retired, and my wife was already a nurse, but she wanted to go get another degree on top of that. And so I was on the mindset of, the GI Bill's got to go to them. I'm going to have to, and I transferred everything but like 1 month to them. Turned out we decided to move to South Carolina, and I didn't know, but I ended up being 100% disabled by the time it happened from the VA. That was my rating that I got. My kids both went to college for free in the state of South Carolina as a result. They were able to use a different chapter was it 35, the dependent education assistance to help for their housing. And then, we used some of the benefit for my wife to get her other degree, but I still have over 30 months of benefit remaining with both of my kids having degrees, my wife getting her other degree. And, you know, why not invest 1 month into a certification? Because 9 times out of 10, even if you go nonstop full time on college, you're still going to have about a month or two remaining benefit, just the way your degree program works out. It's not going to hurt you to give up 1 month, but what it will do is get you in the door to those interviews. I always say certifications aren't going to get you the job, but certifications get you in the door for the interview where you can sell yourself. And that's what you need to do. So if you want to stay in the IT realm, look in the idle world, look in the CompTIA, but again, make sure you have that project management skill set, because that crosses all industries. That is the lean mindset that crosses all industries. Everybody wants to be more efficient in what we do.
Yeah. Go ahead, Justin. I saw you had a comment there.
Yeah. No, it was more, one of the interesting things that I think a lot of the guys who go into the military, whether they're enlisted or officers, they have this mindset of like college being the end all be all of education. That's like, oh, go get a degree. We'll go get another degree. I mean, I literally had senior leaders who went and got like 4 masters. But being here, like the number of people who have come to us saying like, yeah, I'm in a job and I need to get my PMP. Like we've literally had students who have their master's degree in project management come to us and say, I have to have my PMP certification to keep my current job. Like that's very, very telling to me. Like it's not just a good idea. It's starting to become a requirement, and it's because people are seeing the value in the certifications over the value of degrees. But we have this assumption that it's like, well, if I got my degree, if I have multiple degrees, then I'm going to be all set. And that's not necessarily the case. The number of companies that we have coming to us saying, hey, I need to get my people trained in how to do this. And these are senior level leaders. They're getting the same level of training. They're all educated. They all have their degrees, but what they don't have is the certification, and they don't have the skill set. Well, now if you're bringing that skill set to the table with a certification saying, look, I've been vetted, tested, and approved by a certifying body saying I can do this for you, man, like the value you bring at that point is huge. And it's just, you find the job that you want, you search the certifications that it requires, and then almost all of them are going to say any sort of project management. So,
yeah. And I think there's one piece just on the translation, Mike, I appreciate that conversation, because a lot of officers get certs or get degrees because they went to some school. A degree in strategic international studies, isn't going to translate well. A degree in international politics or, military strategy isn't going to translate well. If you get to do a fellowship with Penn State in logistics and supply chain resilience, like, okay, that's a different story because that's directly transferable if you want it. But I think, again, that language, I've used stories of, if I wanted to hire the best deck builder in the world and he speaks French and I speak English, I'm probably not going to hire the guy. Not because he's not good, but because I can't talk to him. And I think for veterans in transition, having that professional conversation that's relatable allows you to then sell your capability, better. And we've had a lot of recent students, even pre-cert, that have come out saying, I was able to get the job. I was able to talk to them in a way that they could understand, and I was able to sell myself because I could speak their language. So even before you take the cert, just having that class where they go, wait, I've done this a lot. That's been more shocking to me. Guys, like I got interviewed and I got hired just because I took the class. I could sell myself and have a conversation, even though I didn't test out yet. It still got me the job, and it's been 3, 6 in the last few months right now. I've seen these posts about it, like, hey, so glad I took the class because I could speak like a professional, and I think that's what veterans truly don't realize. We all speak English, but it's not the same English, right? Like military speak in terms do not mean the same thing on the outside.
Yeah, and I'll add one more point to those folks that are transitioning or have transitioned, right? Even the military members that plan to walk into, or they already know, right? They've networked, they've got a government contract job on the hook, or even a GS civilian, that's going to pay them pretty well, right? What we're starting to see is a lot of these jobs that are either contractor or GS civilians. Guess what? They're starting to require certification. At the end of the day, even if you plan to walk into one of those jobs that are already made for you, there's a good chance that in the future that is going to be a requirement. Whether it's a lean certification or some sort of project management certification, that's one more thing to think about to keep that job once you get it.
Well, yeah, that hope of guarantee. I mean, kind of that one, the hope that I'll have this job and it's guaranteed. Like we're seeing now, there are no guarantees of your job stability, and you need to keep investing in yourself and keep upskilling yourself over time, because when the floor falls out as we're seeing in rapid fashion right now, then it's competition and who's going to rise to the top, who's going to stand out. It's like, okay, well, you're certified or licensed and you're not. I'm going to go with the lower risk opportunity, which is the person with a cert, more than not.
And that's a really good segue into my next question that is again for everyone here. Let's say you could give one piece of advice to someone who's considering using their GI Bill benefits for certification. What would that be? I've heard a lot of really good, like upskill, sell yourself, make yourself more um, attractive to hiring managers or even your current job. But what's one piece of advice that you would give to those people that are thinking about using the GI Bill for certifications?
I'll start with this one. Do it and do it early, right? Some people know my own story and transition that I planned on 20 years, and at 10 years, my career radically shifted. And now I'm finding myself as a civilian. And thankfully, my unit had paid for certs, right? So I tangibly saw the impact that being certified had for my emotional stability, my confidence in the interview, and then the job credibility, to nuclear power plant as a PM, where I'm actually doubting myself, but I'm getting immediate respect from the customer because they know what PMP means. And that's where I really saw what it meant to be a certified professional versus non-certified. Because my boss was non-certified, but they'd still rather talk to me. So I think it's the start now. Start now and start early. And even if you take a course and it shows you that that's not what you want to do, that's a great education, right? Some of our students in the past have said, I went through the PMP, it was great learning, and I realized I don't want to be a PM. Like, I don't want that responsibility. Look, that helps you know where to then invest your time and where to focus. So until you take training, until you get learning, you're assuming a lot. So get learning to invest in yourself and be able to give yourself a direction in the future. And don't wait until the end. You don't want to be trying to upgrade in a firefight. You want to be prepped and ready before bullets start slinging down range.
And that's a really interesting point. If you think about, like employer benefits, if you think about military credentialing assistance and cool funding, right? All of them have kind of this expectation. For the military ones, it's they're expecting you to at least attempt the test, right? For employer benefits, you have to go get it before they're willing to reimburse you, right? The VA, the GI Bill is a reimbursement. You attend and you're good, right? Like there's no threat of buyback. So it's kind of a low risk, almost no money out of pocket minus that 1 month of benefits to find out that lesson exactly as you said that, hey, maybe this isn't for me, right? So that's really good.
Even what you're saying, on, the maybe I don't want to be a PM, I think it's important to understand in any industry, if you are serving any management role within that industry, there are going to be projects that you're going to have to lead, whether you want to or not. You may not have the title PM, but you're going to be managing and running projects nonstop. That's sort of the life of a manager. That's what we do. So don't sell the skill set short. You really need to understand that that's a critical skill that all employers want, regardless of the role they're walking into. They want to know that there's somebody there that can take the lead and can make it happen for the company. All right. It's about that return on investment for the business itself.
Well, and to that point, just one thing I tell a lot of people is just because you're trained in project management doesn't mean your permanent job title is project manager.
Absolutely.
Right. And I think that's a huge misnomer for veterans, that job title equals lifetime MOS. And if I pick the wrong one, I'm stuck in that job the rest of my life, and they run away from it a little bit. I've been a project manager in construction. I've been a consultant, and now I'm, entrepreneur working in sales, but I'm still a project manager in every one of those roles. Whether you're called a PM or not, you're still doing projects. You're still having to manage people, solve problems, create plans, be strategic. Like, those are skills of project management, also skills of military leadership. So, I think that's one of the, to the why not, to the things to overcome is I don't want to be a PM. It's like, yeah, but you want to be a better employee. Learning how projects run taught me how businesses operate. And now it's helped me be successful in every company I've ever worked for.
Jamie and Justin, what kind of advice would you consider giving?
Do the research and look at the numbers. I mean, if you're a data guy looking at numbers, it makes sense. Or if you're like me and you have trust issues, don't take my word for it. You don't know me from anybody, but go look at it and look at what, if I earn a certification, what is my earning potential versus if I don't have that certification? What are the benefits that I will receive if I do go and attempt this versus if I don't even do it? And then weigh it against what your original plan is. Well, I'm going to give this to my kid. Cool. Well, your earning potential did not shift, but your kid's, cost of college is less. Whereas if I do pay that, like, my earning potential just jumped up and my kid now has to pay for a month of college, which, oh, by the way, I could probably fund because I've just been earning a crap ton more money. So just do the research, educate yourself on what doing that benefit will do for you, and then don't be scared to do it. Like I've to Josh's point, like, hey, if you take the class and you're like, oh, this isn't for me. Listen, I've spent more money on worse ideas. I'm just saying, So this, if I'm going to gain a skill set, bare minimum, I'm going to gain a skill set out of this, or I'm going to refine some skills that I previously had. You're only coming out ahead. But again, don't take my word for it. Go do your research, look at the numbers, and then make an educated decision. So that would be it.
Yeah, and I'll just piggyback on Justin. That's a lot of what I was going to say is tied in what Justin said. You got to understand all your options, right? And if it comes down to the fact that you've determined your only options are out of pocket, right? You got to consider those types of things. Are you good with paying out of pocket and moving forward? A lot of people are not, right? Or at least for the long term. So that short term out of pocket for whatever the cost of your certification program is, to be recouped, or at least be able to recoup that back within, depending on how long it takes you to attend it, what have you, or be enrolled in it, is huge, right? And then other things to think about. What is your current personal situation? If you know that you move into a specific state in the country, this kind of goes back to what Mike mentioned earlier, is research what those veteran benefits of that state are. Because like he said, right, his kid's college was already paid for based on the fact that, he met a certain threshold of disability, right? So only you know your situation, right? Don't let 36 months worth of education benefits, certification benefits like the GI Bill sit around unused, right, for 10, 12, 15 years, whatever it is. Take advantage of those things. But again, it goes to doing the research and understanding what that short-term versus long-term value. Do a cost-benefit analysis, all those different things based on your personal situation. And if you don't have to come out of pocket, don't come out of pocket. That just makes the most sense, right? That's the advice.
Yeah.
To clarify that, it's about 2 weeks to get paid back for the GI Bill, right? And then people think it's going to take a long time. One, it's upon enrollment, you can be reimbursed, right? So it's not at completion. It's as soon as you're enrolled, you upload your receipt and you get fully reimbursed, or it's only $100 till you get paid. And then once you get paid, pay the rest. So, but it's not long, right? So faster than your credit card cycle, you're going to get fully reimbursed. To Justin's point, he's probably spent more than that on other stupid ideas.
I think it's also important for people to also reflect, there's a lot of veterans out there that they're 10 years beyond their current benefit and it's just sitting there.
Yeah.
And what people don't understand is that your spouse can only use it for so long. Your kids can only use it, I think, till 26. And then after 26, they're sort of done using it. So if you've already passed those timelines, you have that pot of money, whether it's Montgomery GI Bill or it's the post-9/11 GI Bill, it's there to use. And especially if you're finding yourself in a career change situation, it's time to go after it, right? Go ahead and you leverage what benefits you already earned. They're yours. They're not going anywhere. Where you might lose it for your dependents, and stuff. You don't lose it for you. So, reward yourself and go after those things.
Yeah, that's a good point, Mike. For real, this is literally free money that you've earned from your service to your country. Like, it's a benefit that's afforded to you, and it's free money. Like those people you just mentioned, how many of them would pass up a $20 bill if they walk by it on the sidewalk? I'm going to venture to say not very many. Every single one of them is going to swoop down within their capability, pick that little bite up, put it in their pocket. But they're literally walking by thousands of dollars in money just because they're not educated about it and whatever. So yeah, like that, treat yourself. Use the money that you earned through your service.
This was a really great discussion. I appreciate you guys joining me for, the 45 minutes it took to record this. But hopefully, everyone can understand the value and the education. The beautiful part about the VA transitioning from a college-only program to being able to use it for certifications, which, even though it's 3 years old, most people don't even still recognize, right? And rightfully so, there's only so many certification providers that are even able to, provide the VA benefits because, right? So I really appreciate the conversation, the thought processes that go in, especially from, a bunch of veterans and career military folks that have been in the same exact situation that others are walking into. So thank you for your time and thank you for giving back. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you again soon.